Good morning, everybody. It is a couple minutes late, actually 5 minutes late. Ian is dealing with a sick child, so there you go. That's what we have to deal with when we don't have $1.5 billion, right? No nannies, none of that stuff. Just, a couple of guys plugging away. We've got lots of headlines to talk about today. Canada is China's #1 target for influence operations. World's attention on Tumbler Ridge. The Canadian economy. Things get worse, then you die. And I'm not even making that up. Ford aspires to be PM. That gets leaked out there. Carney selling climate change and EV utopia while the world moves on from climate hysteria and globalism. Criminals see rural Canada's point of weakness. Liberals and NDP make list. U of A dumps DEI. The crime and lack of punishment in Canada. The corrupted elite media are the problem. Fast food sees profits up as they tap the temporary foreign worker program for lower costs. BC in a whole lot of pain. Trudeau buys a new shack in Montreal, and it's quite the shack. Have you seen the picture of that shack? That's quite the shack. Tale of two nations as USA lifts off, Canada flames out. Elon Musk named greatest inventor. They must have got that from our show yesterday. And Pam Bondi, a firebrand. Joe Rogan spitting truths. No guns left. Send money. UK needs a leader that will do what's necessary. Don't we all? All that and a lot more on the really big show. But we got a nice comment here from Glenn. Says he really enjoys our show. And he says it's great to get real unbiased news by quality journalists who have critical thoughts on issues. Thought I would generate an image for you. And he's given us the new golden sausage roll. Let's see if anybody is worthy of a golden sausage roll today. But those are beautiful. He made that image for us. I think he had help from one of his friends, though. But wow. But we're going to start today with the absolute tragedy in Tumbler Ridge there. And we're going to hear from one of the parents here. CTV got this interview. And it is absolutely tragic, knowing that you won't see your child again. Let's listen in on this here, though.
Can you describe yesterday? I mean, she just went to school like any other day, right?
Yeah, I let her off. I let her go to school with her brother Ethan in the morning, and I had soaked in that moment watching them walk in the door together for whatever reason, and I didn't know it would be the last time they'd go to school together. But
when did you learn something had happened, or how did this come to you?
Ethan had called about 3:05 after he had text messaged saying, "I love you." And he called and said that he was in a utility room and that he was hiding and he didn't know where Kylie was.
Sorry, can I just say something? I just want to touch on this. Like, I see...
How old is he? Sorry.
He's 15, okay, but when I open social media, I'm seeing lots of stuff about the shooter. I'm seeing the ideology stuff, and I don't think any of that matters when there's 9 other souls that were lost that day, like 7 kids and 2 adults, and we need to put their pictures up on social media. Like, there's a hero named Maddie Levesque who did CPR on my daughter for 45 minutes, and she was the one who came and told us 9 hours later that our daughter had passed because the police hadn't said anything to us. Like, these are the heroes. You want to put someone's picture up on the news, put Maddie's picture up, put my daughter's picture up, and Takaria and Abel and Ezekiel and Maya, who's still fighting for her life. Put all their pictures up. Let's stop giving this psychopath the recognition, because these kids were lost before they got to become teenagers. So let's put their pictures up, please, and remember them, not this murderer.
I knew that they would, the media would descend upon Tumbler Ridge, and I know that the news directors will ask them to go and talk to the parents. It's a tough call to go and talk. I know we had a journalist here that said that that he was always asked to do that, and he always found that very tough to do, and it's something that we don't really do here or never have done. And
it is without question, absolutely the worst job in journalism. In England, they call them death knocks. There's no question. It's absolutely horrific. And then, even though this guy looked like he obviously wanted to speak, at the same time, you can't really be sure because, what is going on in his mind right now? He's not in his right mind, is he? So even if he consents and he looks like he wants to speak, there are still ethical questions there. So yeah, absolutely. It is just monstrous. And the policy that and papers I've worked at in England, and I think it's probably safe to say our policy as well, is if they come to us, then yes, on their terms, but not go up to them and ask them, because they might sort of say it out of awkwardness, or they might say it, and as I said, not be in their right minds, in which case, don't do it, I mean, it's like the alarm bell should be going off. So I don't know what the circumstances are here with CTV, but who knows?
So the shooter, Jesse Van Rootselaar, 18-year-old biological male who identified as a transgender female. No, you don't need to put that one up there. You can leave that other image up there. Police now confirm that 8 people, not 9 as originally stated, were killed in the tragedy. Van Rootselaar believed to have killed himself as well. And they had 2 guns, a long gun, modified handgun recovered at the scene. Police visited the home of the suspected murderer multiple times in recent years. This is from Kelowna Now. You can go on there and you can read this story there. All the details are there. We do have a couple more clips, but there's this picture, again, of his daughter, Kylie Smith there. I mean, these are young children. This is sad that most of these kids were 12 years old. Absolutely tragic, absolutely tragic. And, the social media firestorm, and the media owes some responsibility for this, for the years that this ideology has been pushed, and this anger now, it's this bubbling up and spewing out. And these parents, I'm sure, wish they weren't in the middle of this firestorm.
Well, it's like there are so many things now. There are so many different culture war flashpoints. Obviously, the suspected murderer was transgender. We all know that. That's a lot of people are talking about that side. Then there's the guns, which the Prime Minister has already spoken about obliquely. He hasn't quite had the cojones to say it explicitly, but in Parliament, he listed lots of mass killings and tragedies and missed out all the ones that didn't involve guns, only included shootings. Gives you an idea of where his head is, where the Liberal Party's head is. They're obviously going to push guns, aren't they? But then there's drugs, and also social media, or, I mean, Reddit. Would you call Reddit social media? Whatever the hell Reddit is, a place for sad acts to complain about life. Although Reddit, because it's left-wing, probably won't be something that a lot of people want to talk about. However, were it X, I'm sure it would be relentless. But there are so many different areas now for people to fight over and scrap over, and that's what this is going to be known as, sadly. The kids that have been lost here aren't really going to get much time. It's just going to move straight to the politics. But I would say, though, at least unlike the United States, it hasn't been quite as obvious and sudden. Like in America, they would already be full-blown politics. Like nobody would care about the people that have been killed at this point in the United States. So at least we've had a day or so.
This government, both Liberals and NDP, have wasted a decade on identity politics and virtue signaling, and the media is very much responsible for this. So if you're watching other media and they're doing this stuff again, this is your chance to look at what they're doing and say, you've had enough, and move on. You can come here. Reddit, yes, Reddit is a cesspool. And we're going to talk about where the left calls X the bad place. It turns out we're going to show you some stuff with Blue Sky, apparently, is the real cesspool, as is Reddit. Apparently, I should never go on Reddit because there's not very many nice things said about me on Reddit. But
well, you should go on Reddit because you're a normal person.
Here's some of the vigil. Here's a glimpse of some of the candlelight vigils there. This whole community has to be reeling, and it'll be reeling for a generation.
We will get through this and we'll be stronger for this. So if I may, I would like to lead you in the Lord's Prayer today. Or something like this. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Let your kingdom come. Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass
That's good.
against us.
Good. I think the other problem with the media, we have a godless media that has been trying to tear down family values, tear down Christianity, and it's time to come back. Anyway, I was going to play Pierre Poilievre's speech there, but I will play a little bit of it here because we gave Mark Carney some time yesterday.
Gentlemen, you would resign right after this
The
hearing
time of the
concludes.
gentleman has expired.
Not it. That's not it. That's not it. Okay, we're not going to play that clip, obviously. It's the wrong clip. So there is a briefing here that I wanted to play from the RCMP.
My question is, we've heard all around the world reports coming out from different media, not local but world, and we've heard people from Tumbler Ridge, actual people that know the shooter, and they are all saying that this person is transgender. Why is the RCMP not speaking to this? Why are we hiding this from the public?
Well, first off, thank you for your question. We're not hiding it. In fact, you're the first media to ask the question. I will say this. We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and publicly.
Unfortunately, we've heard a lot of transgender as mass shootings. Do you think there's a correlation here?
It's too early to say whether that has any correlation in this investigation. I think it's important to recognize that this investigation is still in its infancy. We have scenes still lock down the school and the residence while we execute search warrants and gather further evidence and talk to witnesses that may have further evidence for police.
Well, there was a lot more there, but I mean, we talked about most of it. There was ongoing visits. They had seized the guns at one time, and they were petitioned, and they were given back. The guns were given back. There was issues of self-harm, so this was an ongoing issue.
And the mental health side of it as well, well known. If the posts that are floating around in this person's name are authentic, then SSRIs, think mushrooms, habitual cannabis, which is a common factor in almost every mass killing ever recorded, but rarely discussed. I think there were 2 SSRIs actually, and some other drug that I can't remember now. So definitely, I mean, drugs are huge in this, and the sort of hyper medication, particularly of children. And then sort of US culture wars, US culture, American, you know, the mad tentacles of American dysfunction, which just permeate the Western world, seem to be completely absorbed in that sort of thing. But I would just say about this cop here, you know, we don't necessarily want to go right into it, but he's saying, we're not hiding it. You're the first one that asked. Shouldn't have to ask the sex of a suspect or of a person that you're, in this case, like 9900% sure is the actual person, is the murderer. You don't have to ask about the sex. You know, the press doesn't have to ask. You have to tell, and you have to say that this is a male, but was described as a female. And he also talks about something called transitioning to female. There's no such thing. That's not physically possible. The transition thing is about gender, not sex. And sex is male and female. So you could say transitioning, and it would be theoretically accurate. You could say transitioning to a transgender girl or a transgender woman or something like that. That would at least make a bit of sense. You can't transition to female. You can't change your chromosomes. You can't change your DNA, at least not yet. But this is another thing. It's like, why is a police officer getting involved in things that they have absolutely no understanding of? They don't understand even the first thing about this. So over his head, so above his pay grade. He has no idea what he's talking about. And yet still, they chose to behave in this way. It's just an example of how sort of hyper-progressive, intellectual diseases have infected every institution in Canada, including the RCMP in northern BC. We have these people talking about, queer theory, gender theory, although they wouldn't even know that's what it is, but that's the origins of it. Just hopeless. Just shut your mouth and just say, like, it was a male. We'll deal with the other stuff later. Like, the press can talk about the transgender thing. We're just going to say, this was a male.
Yeah, and then I've talked to some doctors, and they're saying, especially in BC, the use of marijuana here and the edibles and the THCs here in British Columbia have led to psychosis for so many young males. And I think he told me that between the ages of 15 and 30, young males are it's almost epidemic proportions of psychosis in males. Again, with high uses of marijuana. Thank you again, Justin Trudeau, for legalizing marijuana, and David Eby for the decriminalization of other drugs here in British Columbia. A failure, and this is one of the results of all of this too. They're all related. We need somebody to come in here with a big mop and clean this up. I cannot imagine the pain these families are going to feel for ever, right? You can't take it away.
Yeah.
And just hopefully the media that shows up there has some respect and tries to be very respectful. At least don't send your worst nut jobs up there.
I would say as well, that chap there who, the first video that we had, I mean, credit to him for even being vertical. I don't know how he's doing it. I really don't. I can't imagine that I would have the strength to compose myself, get my mind straight enough to put the sentence together as he did there. So, I don't know how these people do it. I just have to, in a way, I suppose I admire them that they're capable of doing that, because and obviously he's not the only one. There are dozens and dozens of people in that town operating under the same extraordinary circumstances, the worst circumstances that you could possibly imagine ever happening to you. So
Adam says that I'm a twit, or we're twits, because cannabis doesn't cause psychosis. Well, I've talked to an expert, one of the leading experts here in British Columbia, and also talked to police, and I've also had some personal experience. So not myself, but so take that.
The scientific literature on this now is so voluminous as to be basically indisputable. So Adam Jutras, I would just advise you to familiarize yourself with even the most basic literature on this now. It's not hard. It's all publicly accessible.
Even the liberals
do yourself a favor. Don't just sit there and don't live in ignorance. Don't be like a cave-dwelling fool. Learn something first.
Even the liberals came out with a report that said that they knew the information when they legalized cannabis. They knew it at the time that it would lead to psychosis for some people, and they still released it, or still legalized it. Again, God bless the families. Like I said yesterday, may angels be awaiting them. We're going to move on to some of the economy, which is in tatters here in Canada. It's absolutely in tatters. And this is Jameson Greer here talking to Fox Maria there, Bartolomona. I never can pronounce her name right. Let's play a little clip here.
So your plans and the president's plans have long been to do bilateral deals. So, but the president did USMCA, and that was the trade deal with Canada and Mexico. But you've taken a different tack this time around. You want to do bilateral, separate deals, one with Canada. Can you tell us about that reset trade deal that is expected, this summer?
So we have to review the USMCA. There's a joint review, and we baked this into the USMCA because for a long time under NAFTA, there was no review scheduled. There was never any opportunity to take a look at the agreement and adjust it if necessary, which makes no sense. It makes no business sense. It makes no economic sense. So we're reviewing it. We're entering into negotiations with Mexico right now. Our economic relationship with Mexico is very different than our relationship with Canada. The labor profile down there is different. The export-import relationship is different. The types of goods are different. If there are areas where there's overlap where it makes sense to align on things like rules of origin or external tariff and trade policy, then we'll do that. But generally speaking, these negotiations are going to proceed bilaterally and separately. The Mexicans are being quite pragmatic right now. We've had a lot of discussions with them. With the Canadians, it's more challenging. They continue to have certain barriers. They refuse to sell U.S. wine and spirits on their shelves. There are a variety of issues that they have not addressed and they aren't addressing. And this makes it a big challenge and an obstacle for starting real negotiations with them.
So is it all about the president using tariffs as leverage here again, a higher tariff on Canada? I mean, I remember in Davos just a couple of weeks ago, the Canadian Prime Minister was, he was really pushing back on stage against President Trump in his speech.
The thing to keep in mind with Canada is this is a country that's 75% dependent on the United States for its gross domestic product. We're always going to have some kind of a trading relationship with Canada. We have to make sure that it's fair. We have to make sure that it's equal. It goes beyond economics. It goes to defense partnership, burden sharing with respect to NATO, the Golden Dome that the president's trying to establish. Just by pure geography, we're right next to Canada, and it means that we have to have a relationship that is effective for both of us.
Yeah.
It can't be a situation where the Canadians have an antagonistic relationship or where we can't, on a very pragmatic basis, figure out common interests and come to an understanding.
Great points all around. You've got an India.
I mean, you and I say it all the time. Consult the globe. It's right there, just that round object there. If people just buy one, you can actually get a 3D visualization on the internet if you need it as well, to show you why Canada and the United States are lifelong partners, no matter what.
I mean, they are being a little bit ridiculous though. When he's saying the Mexicans are being quite pragmatic. It's like, again, you can't compare Mexico and Canada in terms of like who's behaving good, who's behaving the best. I mean, Mexico's like, we've discussed it. Mexico's like a quasi narco state. The party in charge is completely infected by these criminal organizations that kill, to use Donald Trump's words, millions of Americans. It's just infantile. Like, don't be stupid. Again, we have somebody in politics just insulting the intelligence of, in this case, 2 countries consisting of hundreds of millions of people. Just brain dead, absolutely brain dead. But yeah, nonetheless, obviously he's right to say that Canada's been a little bit more prickly and antagonistic. However, what I would say there is China has been extraordinarily antagonistic, and yet China won. China was tariffed to the extreme by Trump, and then China's response was to very quietly, very soberly put export restrictions on rare earth metals. America was defeated and backed down. So is there a lesson to learn there? Obviously, Canada's nowhere near as powerful as China. It doesn't quite have doesn't quite have what it takes to go toe-to-toe with the US. But we've already seen it happen. We've seen what happens when you've got the balls to stand up to America. You win, at least in the case of China. So again, it's like, as is usual with anybody in politics, it's just deceit, constant deceit and lies. And that also applies to this gentleman.
Loss for Trump yesterday there. The Congress voted. They had 6 Republicans breaking rank there, and they passed a bill to scrap some of the levies on Canadian imports, and reflecting a deepening unease with the president's economic policies. I mean, so many U.S. states rely on Canadian trade. So many rely. I mean, Jim Farley said, this is where, where we're going to get to the auto sector later. This is where it doesn't make any sense to me with what Joe Lee and them are doing. Like, here you have a guy in the United States, a powerful guy, Jim Farley, CEO of Ford, that says we need Canada. So why not work that wedge there? Why not work that one to the betterment? But this doesn't mean much, though, because Trump can veto this bill, right? Because they have a system where you have to actually learn how the system works, right? They have to go through the House, the Senate, and then the president has the veto, and it goes around and around and around and around. But our next big story, Chinese influence in Canada. It seems to be getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And Canada seems to be their #1 target for Chinese influence. And it's, let's play the second clip here. When compared to other countries, Canada's super saturated with, not this clip, but let's play the next one here. Yeah.
Haute Commission is 100. Canada, as was released by the Haute Commission, is 176 Chinese diplomats. Now compare that to the US footprint, which consists of a little over, coincidentally, 176 American diplomats. But what's curious is, if you put it in perspective of total trade, which I know is the forefront of many Canadians' minds today, is that trade with the United States represents over $1 trillion, or about 70% of our total trade, whereas trade with China is around 120 billion, or 8%, which is about 1/9 of how much we trade with the US. So that begs the question, are the Chinese Communist Party's diplomats just really inefficient? And not just a small amount of inefficiency, are they 9 times less efficient at their jobs? Or are they doing something else? And if it's not trade, what else are they doing here in Canada? I think it bears reminding folks that there was at least one diplomat who was from the Toronto Chinese Consulate, Zhao Wei, who was declared persona non grata in 2023 and expelled from Canada because he wasn't conducting trade. He was coordinating efforts to target one of my former parliamentary colleagues, Conservative MP Michael Chong, and his family. What are the activities of the 8 out of 9? So are they really inefficient, or are they doing something else? Those are some of the questions that I'm asking. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Cheryl.
Yeah, we seem to be doing not much about this Chinese thing, and it just seems to be 2,000 organizations across the US, Canada, and the UK, Germany, links to the CCP, United Front Work Department, and 575 of those in Canada alone. 575 here in Canada, small country. Mark Carney was asked directly during his campaign. It seems like the Chinese government wants the Liberals to win. Again, this thing should go down in the record books. Why do you think they want you to win? I don't know. Let's move on. Let's move on. And the media moved on. We had that one MP that he spoke about there that Carney wouldn't even boot out of the MP. The RCMP had to remove him. How much interference do they know about? They won't name. We did the story yesterday. There's CSIS there. Won't even tell you who's being interfered with.
And that probably explains why China. So it's per capita. China's #1 target per capita, according to these researchers. I would say the reason, or at least part of the reason for that, is because it's just so easy. You know, like you actually face pushback in other countries. In Canada, it's like an open door, isn't it? And that's very much not just my sort of wild cowboy opinion. That is the opinion of basically every serious study into this, including by the RCMP and CSIS. They've said this, that Canada is just so naive when it comes to China, or just foreign interference in general, that it's seen as a kind of playground for these people. What a surprise.
Is it just the Canadian government, or is it mainly the Liberals that seem to benefit from it? Trudeau, remember when there was Chinese students that weren't even of age, and they were voting for him in the Liberal Party there. And they seem to think, they've allowed so much of this to go on to the benefit of the Liberal Party. There should be investigations into this, yet we can't get anything done. Sam Cooper has done some amazing work on the Chinese ties. There was, again, the $1.1 billion loan that was given to the Chinese, basically the Chinese Communist Party shipbuilder, instead of giving the jobs to Canadians. And no answer to that still. That's Canadian Infrastructure Bank money that Mark Carney has ties to that one as well. And no responses. Nobody even asks the question. Mark Carney goes to China, makes a deal. Nobody asks the question of why Mark Carney was there a year earlier and took a loan for over $250 million from the Bank of China, basically President Xi himself, for properties that he had to refinance in China, in the real estate market in China, doing very poorly. Where are all the questions on conflicts of interest? Where are all the questions? The mainstream media must be defunded, must be defunded. They are the shield of the Liberal Party. They don't allow us to get access. They don't allow anybody to get access other than the government-funded media, and they don't ask the questions. That should make every Canadian very, very angry.
And Canadians are angry and they are concerned about this. I mean, surveys will prove that if you don't believe your eyes and ears. But Canadians aren't very happy about a gigantic, hostile, communist, authoritarian power interfering in Canadian affairs. And it's quite interesting when you listen to these think tank researchers here. Unfortunately for them, and they must have immediately been, well, they mention it, they talk about the Tumbler Ridge incident, but it's just killed the story because, it's almost like those people that came out and made big announcements on September the 11th, 2001. It's just like, nobody paid any attention. And this has just been swept aside. But they explain how it works. And they're talking about, they say that they operate within the legal system. It's strictly speaking legal. But they create these influence networks, and in their words, they say they kind of craft the political and cultural environment to some extent in Canada. So they decide the sort of things that I've spoken about. And so they mentioned businesses. I mean, we've known that for a long time now, haven't we? That a lot of Canadian businesses, especially on the bigger side, are very, very fond of China, let's say, and willing to put their profits ahead of maybe whether it's safe for Canada to be in bed with China. We've known that for ages. That goes back decades. But they also point out cultural organizations, right? We know about that too, how they try and infiltrate a lot of cultural organizations like the Confucius Institutes and things like that. I mean, there are people that say that that's just basically run by the CCP anywhere. It's to such an extent that you might as well say that. And then the other one is Chinese language media. That's one of the other groups, organizations that they highlighted. And cast your mind back to Mark Carney in Beijing kowtowing to Emperor Xi. And part of that package was that we were gonna let lots of Chinese journalists, Chinese media come into Canada. So just think about that. This is all obviously well known. And if Mark Carney was responsible enough to sit down and take a briefing from CSIS or whoever it was that was going to brief him about China, he would know all this. So he went to Beijing knowing all this and said, yes, glorious emperor, you can send more media outlets and journalists to Canada. Come along, it's great. Even though I know, and I've been told by my own officials, that those media outlets are almost certainly CCP aligned.
And still silence from Mark Carney on the sentencing of Jimmy Lai. Nothing. And
don't expect anything. He's not going to say anything. And he's perhaps even, to add to that and makes it even worse, he's not going to say anything voluntarily, and he's almost certainly not going to be asked either. What does that tell you about the journalists in this country?
That tells you everything you need to know about the CBC, because we would ask that question immediately. We're not provided access because the CBC is used as a shield. CTV, CBC is used as a shield. They say, oh, this is the media in Canada. And the media is corrupt. They don't ask the question. Why don't they ask the question? That's the question you should be asking. Why don't they ask the question? We've said it many times here. If you want democracy, you have to let the media you don't like in to ask questions, because that's how you have accountability, not the friendly media.
Absolutely. And that's why we have an adversarial political system. That's why you have the Liberal bench and then opposite the Conservative bench, the government and the opposition. That's why they face each other like that, unlike the stupid European parliaments where they're in a circle. That's what the whole point of this system is, that it's adversarial. You know, just like the court system where it's two people arguing against each other. This goes back to bloody Socrates, but it's embedded in our system. And if you remove that element, if you remove the adversarial nature from any area, but from the media side of things, you get what you deserve. You know, you get what you build, and that is a totally compliant media that just always behaves as expected.
Sun had a point there. When you own the questions, you already have the answers. And I do thank all the people that are showing off their coffee cups there. They are part of the Thinking Canadians membership. So if you're still a Thinking Canadian, you might want to join our membership. We promised to do the membership video yesterday. We're going to do it right after this show here so that we can have it up there, because we got tied up and doing a bunch of other stuff yesterday. A lot of stuff was going on in the newsroom. So. But if you think that China's influence is just here, when they've claimed that they have sovereignty over the Arctic, here and they are. They're actually, China's icebreaker construction program is added to the Western alarm about the Chinese and Russia advances in the Arctic. This is something that we should be worried about. Where's our Arctic icebreakers? Right, we rely on the Americans. And these
are being built in Finland. That's where they are. They're still being built in Finland.
And these ones here are a powerful symbol of Beijing's ambitions in the far north, where tensions have soared. And this is what Trump was talking about for Greenland, how important Greenland is to the safety of the Western Hemisphere, because they had like dog sled teams there. And then what did Canada do? We opened a consulate in Greenland. At what cost? We don't even have the money. At what cost would we open a consulate in Greenland? Just virtue signaling, just continual virtue signaling. And so proud of it too, right? When she took a delegation there of people there. Did you see that? She took a delegation of First Nations there to meet with the people of Greenland. Just everything about this government is performative. Look at all the performative nonsense about the Gripens and the F-35s. Well, they secretly were making payments on the F-35s. And then this morning I watched on Bloomberg, because now they send out the expert that says, oh yeah, you know, we had to do the F-35s because of this, that, and everything. But meanwhile, they let the public just get all fired up, and the media, they use the media machine there to, you know, like I think the Globe and Mail must have written like 6 articles on why we must go with the Gripens. It just gets this fever pitch, and people are used like pawns in this virtue signaling anger thing. Again, divisive politics. And we played the clip, was it 3 days ago, where Justin Trudeau says, we do it because it works.
Even in 2015, indeed. Indeed, in 2015.
And what do we do about it? You know, like this Chinese interference in our politics it's showing, like it's tearing down our society. Like, I mean, again, if you read, I don't know who's read The Art of War on here, but I mean, one of the ways to do it is just to let the civilizations tear themselves apart. Think of everything that's gone on in the past 10 years in England and in Germany and in Canada. Globalism and liberalism has basically torn these nations apart, and the middle class sliding into poverty. Sliding into poverty. And here's a thing here from the Bank of Canada. Tiff Macklin, the governor, said things are going to get worse, and then you're going to die. How's that? He was speaking. He was speaking to a group there. He said that business leaders prepare for economic pain that will outlast most of them. Bank of Canada, he declared the country's old economy dead last Wednesday in Toronto, warning of painful and permanent restructuring that will take decades. Advocating for big gambles he admits may not work, asking households to pay higher prices for a payoff likely won't live to see. The country's downturn isn't cyclical, it's structural. Wonder why. We showed you that picture yesterday of the top 10 companies in Canada. They're all parasitic. They're banks. We should be booming right now. The resource sector, look at the price of gold, look at the price of silver, look at the price of copper, all of it. Structural changes are permanent, require drastic changes to the economy to operate. The governor attributes this shift to three forces: slowing population growth, breakdown of U.S. trades, and artificial intelligence. Well, he misses the one that, again, he's being political. He misses the most important one: the suppression of our natural resources, the suppression of our wealth, willingly suppressing our natural wealth.
Also, just to say artificial intelligence, we don't know yet what that's going to do. I mean, that might make us all rich.
Well, according to Elon Musk, it makes us rich. Elon Musk says it's leads to prosperity, but we're going the wrong way on that too. Like in that top 10 list there, not one of those companies is an AI company. None.
But also the slow population growth thing. I mean, certainly demographics. Demographics are complicated, though, aren't they? That, as we've seen, lots and lots of studies out of Europe in particular shown that it hasn't really benefited. Like the Netherlands and Denmark, they're the two countries that have been most forthcoming with their data. Mass immigration, which was supposed to replace the children that weren't born when people in the West stopped having kids. You know, the data now show that actually it's cost money. It's been a net cost to those countries. And you can read that anywhere you want. I can't be bothered to go and get those links like I did for the cannabis ones. But, you know, that's everywhere. Just Google it. But that raises a question: slow population growth. The answer to which, I know he doesn't mention immigration, but the reason that the population has grown more slowly now is because immigration's been brought down a little bit. So obviously embedded in that is a conversation about immigration. But I just feel like those three reasons he's given, they're so shallow. I would expect more from Tiffy, to be honest. And then also we have countries with very small populations. And we have countries in Europe, for example, but also the Middle East, like Qatar and the United Arab Emirates and so on. You know, times have almost never been as good, have they, in places like that? And they have tiny populations, and they don't have particularly high birth rates either, believe it or not. It's complex. It's very complex.
It's the suppression of our natural resources. I mean, Qatar is rich because of natural resources. We suppress them, and we have visions of EVs all over that we don't make any EVs. We're going to deal with China. The old goat says that we should be live streaming 24 hours a day, 24 hours of independent news from Now Media. Well, we thank you for that. We're going to need more sausage rolls. We're going to need a few more sausage rolls to keep Ian and I going 24 hours a day. And we are big fans of GB News as well. And we've said there's one reporter there we wish we could hire on here. But we're getting more and more. I spoke to an MP yesterday. He got us an interview. We're lining up an interview with Michael Cooper. We're going to start bringing in some of the MPs and we're asking the Liberals. I have an interview request out for David Eby, and I'm going to put one out for Brenda Bailey. We're going to put them all out there, and we're going to try and bring them into the show instead of doing separate interviews. We'll bring them into the show. We're doing all we can. So fill the plate with sausage rolls, and we'll do what we can. We need independent media in Canada. 2026 will be a breakout year for independent media, for sure. So anything you can do to help support independent media, we would appreciate it, especially join and become a member of the Thinking Canadian, because God knows many of us need to start thinking. And we need to stop hiring or electing fools to run the largest city in Canada. Toronto, facing stagnant living standards, high unemployment. Once considered an economic powerhouse, Toronto now faces all kinds of everything that is bad. And who do we have there? Olivia Chow, the dancing queen. Like, it's like comedy. It's literal comedy. How did she get elected? And it's just literal comedy. Like, they look at the people that are leading this nation in so many different places. Ian has talked about this many, many times. Most of our problems come, Tiff Macklin, too cowardly to say it, weakness of leadership. Weakness of leadership. That's where it comes down to. Weakness of leadership. Olivia Chow. You get what you sow. And this is what they elected her. And she's literally a dancing clown. We should ask her on and see if she wants
Although this does predate her, to be fair.
I'm not going to be fair to her.
Our dear precious friend, Global Traveller, has taken issue with what I said about Jamieson Greer in Mexico. I don't think it is uninformed, really. I mean, especially if you swallow the line from Jamieson Greer and his master, Donald Trump, which is about fentanyl and overdoses and things like that. That's a Mexican thing. And yet he's talking about Mexico as if it's like a good boy while Canada's the bad boy. That's just transparently foolish. That's a stupid thing to say. And as for you said, Mexico's not, I don't think I said it was a failed state. I said Mexico is a narco state. So if I did say failed, then I misspoke. I don't think Mexico, I wouldn't call it a failed state necessarily, but it is a narco state. I mean, or just about quasi narco state. AMLO, Sheinbaum, Morena, the party, whatever that party was called that preceded Morena, which is the same thing. They're completely owned by the cartels, aren't they? I mean, how else can I define quasi narco state? I think that's sort of pretty self-evident. So I'm not going to pretend to be some sort of master of Mexican society or anything like that, but this is from reading articles and studies and whatnot from people who are experts on Mexico, who do say that. So maybe I've got the wrong experts, but I'm pretty confident that that's an accurate description of Mexico. So it's a quasi-narco state, yeah. And also I totally stand by the idea that it's foolish to present Mexico as, exemplary and Canada as the bad guy. I just think that's just idiotic.
And Canada's job market might be in worse shape than is being reported as well. The next one there. Stats Canada measures changes in the labor force in two ways. One of them is seriously overestimating employment creation, and that's from economists. According to the survey of employment payrolls and hours, which would be more accurate because that's an actual survey, compared to the labor force survey, which is just like a survey. The survey of payrolls said that the economy lost 5,000 positions in 6 months leading up to November 2025. While the most recently available release from the LFS, the labor force survey, said that they created 200,000 jobs. Which one do you think the Liberals were touting? Which one do you think they would have used? Likely the other one, right? But, I mean, you can see it in the layoff notices. I mean, you can see it in the plant closures. You can see it. Like, I interviewed the mayor of North Cowichan, Domtar, huge employer, lost. Like, the idling plants in the auto sector, like closing mills everywhere. Here's another really bad thing where Canada leads in household share of household debt as share of GDP. Top of the list, Canada. And things are about to get worse.
And yet this is never included. It's just an example of how shameless and how dishonest our leaders are when they talk about Canada's exquisite debt to GDP ratio, which, by the way, is catastrophically bad. But there are a couple of countries with a worse one, like Japan. Therefore, all good chaps. But they never mention this, which is just, it's so dishonest. I mean, it's like, it's dishonest to an extraordinary degree, isn't it? It's filthiness. It's intellectual filth, this. And I think we should put stuff up like this. We should probably put this bloody tweet up every single day. Although this spectator index is a bit dodgy, but I mean, either way, household debt in Canada is unfathomably huge, and it's a disaster for this country.
And right now, I'm not going to play this clip, but right now in Parliament, all you hear, and Mark Carney's going to do this. Maybe we'll play a little bit of it. We'll play a little bit of it. Just, I don't want to play all of it, though. Let's play a small portion of it.
One for the opposition leader. There's a bit of a lag And in fact, the party across the way engaged in so much obstruction during the last parliament that now there's an effect of that. But now growth is on the rise, salaries are rising, we're creating jobs.
Now he's claiming that it's the official opposition that lowered the dollar, Mr. Speaker. Another excuse from a man whose results do not live up to his rhetoric. The same is true on crime. After 10 years of Liberals, extortion is up 333% because of lax Liberal laws and immigration. And now Liberals are obstructing a solution. Today we're proposing a motion to ensure that no one accused or convicted of a crime can claim refugee status. Will the Prime Minister stop obstructing this motion so we can kick extortionists out and bring safety to our streets?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad the Leader of the Opposition brought up obstruction. It is the obstruction of the Opposition, which is delaying the 6 bills before the House and Senate that will address extortion, that will tighten the veil.
That's good enough. Jeez whiz.
What is he doing there if not obstructing? He's obstructing ordinary parliamentary procedure. A question is asked. He refuses to answer it. That's obstruction, isn't it?
Yeah.
The goal of that man.
11 years. This is where we're at. 11 years. And we should be, like I said, and you can pull up the charts. Anybody can go to kitco.com. Go to get the app on your phone. Kitco.com. One of the most important apps for a Canadian. You know, I was in the mining industry. So, and look at it. You'll see the price of gold. You'll see the price of gold. You'll see the price of silver. See the price of copper. Copper, $5.80. Nickel, $7. When I was working in nickel, I think it was nickel mine. It was like $3. No, that one doesn't have it. It's on the app there. Aluminum, zinc, lead, uranium, $86 a pound. Gold, I don't know. Like, this should be boom time for Canada. Boom time. Instead, here's from the dairy professor, or sorry, the food professor. We're still dumping milk, and but the dairy cartel won't reveal how much milk they dump. Why not?
They still, I mean, last I checked, they still pretend that they don't dump any. But I mean, maybe they've changed now. But they used to, or maybe apologists for the dairy farmers, let's call them, let's be nice. They used to come out and say, no such thing has ever occurred. And just try and like totally gaslight you as if it doesn't happen.
CBC gets $1.5 billion. All they'd have to do is show the record food bank lineups in Toronto, show the lineup, and then show them dumping milk down the drain. Just like that.
He's got to be careful, old Sylvain. He's like, you know, like we were saying yesterday, I think it was yesterday, whenever it was we were saying earlier this week, he's basically the only person, other than, as some people in the comments are saying, Mad Max, but he's kind of not, he's neither here nor there, is he? But Sylvain Charlebois is like basically the only prominent person that ever says this. It's like, watch yourself, lad. I'm sure they've, no, I won't finish that sentence. I'll just say, be careful, tall poppy.
We do put the comments up on the screen as well. And Danny, thank you for that, Danny. We appreciate that. We appreciate all the comments. If you could share this on your Facebook, you said it's the best stream you've seen. Get it out there to more people. It needs to be seen by more people across Canada. We need to shame other journalists into actually telling the truth as well. We need to show them that telling the truth is not such a bad thing. You don't need to do the narratives. Actually, you know, we've had a few journalists working here that have gone on the CBC. I know of at least 2 that now work for CBC that we trained here when they came out of school. We trained them here. And then CBC, of course, they have, you know, deeper pockets than ours because they have it in they can reach into your damn pocket. We can't reach into your pocket. And they now work for and we have one working for CP. Hopefully they get indoctrinated, actually. But while Canadians stand in record lineups, Carney spent over $772,000 on in-flight catering accommodations. Somebody's not starving, that's for sure. How many?
I'm actually kind of surprised, like the extent to which this just has not been a story at all. Do you remember when? Well, obviously you do remember when Trudeau went to London, but there was a couple of Trudeau ones like this, but this one's just completely not landed. It's not landed at all.
But Mark Carney
they're
is
really covering for old constants.
the financial wizard. Like he's a self-described globalist, and globalism is dying. And yet they applauded that speech on Davos there. I mean, the media couldn't get enough of it here in Canada. They were just like fawning over themselves and how that speech stood out. Globalism has done nothing but hurt the nations. China's even said it. They're just like, it's just like they took the benefits of globalism, but then liberalism. Anyway. And this is how
Just
you buy
votes. Somebody saying we should have 24-hour independent news channel, even if you loop it. That would be funny, wouldn't it?
We will do that one day. And there's that one lady I would love to hire from GB News. I can't remember her name though. She's so good. Just imagine her.
I think her name's Bev, isn't it?
Imagine her in front of Mark Carney.
Bev Turner.
That would be his last day. Like he would just lose his mind.
It would be funny to see that. And it's a shame because he obviously submits himself to British journalists because he has this
not to her.
Weird, like, extraordinary fondness for Britain that almost deserves to be investigated, I think. But he loves to speak to English journalists, but he would never speak to her because, I don't know, what would he say in his mind? Would he just say that she's not really English or something?
Well, MJ,
not
you can
kind of English.
Say your parents down in front of this. I know our producer has sat her grandparents down in front of the screen, and they're buying in now. They're watching us all the time. So there you go. You just gotta show them a little bit of truth, and then at first they'll deny it, and they'll say that's not true. That's not true. And then when you see it, and we're actually like we don't make stuff up. This is not like where it's not. We'll call out the conservatives just as much. And
well, I've got people saying that at the beginning, if you scroll up to the top of this chat, somebody's saying that I'm I think it was far left or something like that. because I criticized, I guess because I criticized Trump. Then we've got, in our email, in our inbox, we got somebody moaning on about how we're basically next door to Hitler.
Yeah.
Good fun, really, isn't it? And then we got our, this fella, Doug Stewart. This is petty waste of time with a naughty word in there. Everybody hates us, Jim.
Well, hey, if you're looking for the CBC, it's not here. This is the opposite of the CBC. If you're looking for a narrative where they tell you how to think and what to do and who to be mad at and who to scream at, you can find that on Reddit, Blue Sky, in the CBC. Here's the Canada public sector as the total share of employment. Notice anything? Anything?
Wow.
Thank you, Tracy.
That really was just like, we talked about it at the time, if you remember. Yeah. It really was like FDR, Great Depression sort of, let's just give people jobs like raking leaves and things like that, just so we can rescue the, the employment figures. You can talk about whether that was valid, but perhaps the more serious question is, why is it still so high? Why hasn't it gone back to normal? Or at least back to the trend?
Most people are afraid of the truth. It reminds you of that movie, A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson there. They're afraid of the truth.
We can't handle it.
Can't handle the truth. And if you think Canada's bad, we had... What's that?
I'm sorry, you might have missed. Clojo, our good friend there, says her dad's 92, her mother's 88, and she's got them watching us. So, hello to you folks out there.
We appreciate you, absolutely. We appreciate you, each and every one of you.
That would be greatest generation, wouldn't it? Rather than boomers, I think that, yeah, definitely. So that's a privilege to have that generation tuning in.
You can watch us on television, YouTube. You can watch YouTube. I don't watch television anymore. I just watch YouTube. Watch us on YouTube. And you can watch us on X. And we're now on Rumble, streaming on Rumble. I think we had a few subscribers on Rumble. And we're on TikTok now. And we got our own X account. You can go to the reallybigshow.ca and you can find all those things. We're also on audio files. We're on Apple Music. And then we're on, what's that other one? Spotify. Andrew Weaver, former leader of the BC Green Party, when the BC Green Party was like, you know, a respectable party, not like now. There's an opinion piece in the Vancouver Sun there that he's heaping praise on there. This budget that's going to come down is not going to be good for British Columbia. BC in trouble. As much as Canada's in trouble, and BC should be one of the strong parts of Canada. I mean, there's many people on here, I mean, Shelley and a bunch of other people that know the sawmill industry very well. Not good. And I worked in the mill industry, and I have many friends that work in it, and it is in shambles. And I've done, I don't even know how many interviews I've done in the sawmill, the forest minister, the Kofi, how many? I mean, it's been in shambles for a while. It has nothing to do with Trump is exaggerating it maybe, but I mean, this has been going on for a long time. For a long time.
Doesn't matter who's in the White House, really, does it? When it comes to lumber, anyway, that's not.
But I mean, we've also
really relevant. They're always hostile to it.
We've exaggerated our problems with no access to fiber, all driven by also that climate agenda that we continue to push here in Canada. We still push the climate agenda. We're going to show you some of that right away here. That needs to go away in Canada. But we're going to kick it off with the auto industry here, where just a little bit on Doug Ford first, right? And because, you know, they're pitching that they're going to get all these electric EVs, you know, like there's going to start manufacturing. Listen to Doug Ford's response here.
Did you get any assurance that any international automaker is ready to open a plant in Canada yet?
Not yet, but let's hope.
Let's go. That's let's hope. Let's build it on hope. Let's build it on hope. And then I think the person here says in 2023, Trudeau said 12 foreign grocery chains are coming to Canada. I mean, again, if you want to talk about cartels or oligopolies here in Canada, banking, we pay more banking than most people, like in compared to the United States. Grocery stores, we have a few major grocers here in Canada. The small ones are frozen out, and then you have the credit card companies, and then the cell phone companies.
That's the least of it. I mean, there's so many. Yeah.
And then dairy cartel. It's just a bunch of cartels. It's like, you know, they talk about how the Americans have these massive lobby groups. Obviously, we have some massive lobby groups here too, all under protectionism. And, you know, and we're the ones screaming free trade. If you look at our industries, we are probably the model for protectionism.
Yeah. By the way, I just wanted to slip back, if we could, to Andrew Weaver's tweet there, where he said, "We are heading for a 2001 style wipeout of the BC NDP."
I believe so.
Really? I mean, just, again, a lot of people dismiss polls and say that they're nonsense, but they're pretty accurate in BC.
We got to get Seiko on.
Leger. Yeah, we do. Leger, well, there's something important that I'll say after that probably distorts this, but Leger's latest poll, +6 NDP. That's their highest lead in a couple of months or something like that. So, I don't know, it's not that straightforward. But then the thing that I would say, obviously, the obvious ingredient here that's maybe not being mentioned is that the opposition is leaderless. They're in the process now of picking a leader. And if they pick the right leader and they get the right platform together, then, yeah, there is absolutely no reason that they shouldn't wipe the floor with EB.
And I think that I interviewed Trevor Halford, the interim leader, just about a week and a half ago. I interviewed Trevor Halford. You can go back and you can watch that interview. And I believe that they picked the new leader May 30th. And I think February 15th is when people have to kind of pony up the cash, so then we'll know who's actually in this leadership race. Because there's Peter Milbar, Caroline Elliott, Yuri Fulmer, and a few other, Ian Black, and a few other guys. But I mean, it's gonna tighten up. So Renee Merrifield and I are going to interview some of these leaders when the field tightens up, because right now there's just too many. And once that field tightens up, we're going to see if we can get a bunch of those interviews so you can watch all that stuff here on Now Media. We do a lot of interviews. This is not just an opinion show. We do actual real news. We are an accredited news organization. And You heard it here first. Well, not actually. Rebel News, who's been told by the government that they're not a news organization, yet they've got more scoops than the CBC and CTV combined this year, probably. Rebel News, not a news organization according to the government of Canada, but they scooped every one of those government-funded outlets when they got that interview with Chrystia Freeland. And look at this one here. Doug Ford's daughter says, Doug wants the job of Pierre's. Listen to this.
This isn't their interview, though, is it? We should. So not quite a scoop.
Yeah. Yeah, play it.
Your grandmother once told us that one day a Ford would be the prime minister. Which Ford is that going to be?
Next question. Is there anxiety around that? Do you think he'll run?
Pardon?
Do you think that he'll actually run for conservative leader at some point?
Yeah, at some point.
You're right. That's not the Rebels news, but they did get the Chrystia Freeland scoop.
Yeah, no, credit to them, and I poured credit on Ezra Levant's head for that, and also Jolie, but that was and Trudeau, but they were a bit less successful, I think. Though he did show Trudeau to be a haughty fellow, I think, which I guess is kind of useful.
Rebel did more work in Davos than the rest of the sausage eaters combined. By a factor of like 10. By a factor of 10. And then the sausage eaters got to ride on the plane with Carney on the way home, didn't ask a single question. Just imagine if Ezra Levant was on the plane with Mark Carney. You think he would just sit in the back and eat sausage rolls, or he would ask questions?
But you know, this will sound absurd to a lot of people. Maybe not people in the chat here, but a lot of people on the CBC side of things. But Ezra Levant should bloody well be on that plane all the time. Of course he should. And that goes back to what we were talking about with adversarial, the adversarial political system that we have, or we're supposed to have anyway, in this country. And you look at America, and you see all the people from Associated Press, CNN, CNBC, and New York Times, all of these left-wing Democratic Party aligned organizations, they're always yapping away at Trump, and there's really very little difference between that and Ezra Levant yapping away at Mark Carney. But we just don't have that, and I almost feel like people are proud of that, or some people are proud of that anyway. It's like, oh no, we're Canadian, we don't do things like that. But it's absolutely to the detriment of Canadian democracy, because you see what happens. Mark Carney never gets asked a question that he's not prepared for and that he can't just waffle his way out of.
And this is the big piece here. This is where they're taking Canada down this road. Listen to this.
Mr. Speaker, this government is investing $3 billion in Canadian automakers. Yeah. We are investing not in the auto industry of the past, but the auto industry of the future. The auto industry of the future is electric. It is connected. We are building out the entire supply chain. That's right. And as this House will see in the coming weeks, we are building out the electricity grid with, wait for it, in the spirit of cooperative federalism with the provinces. Hear, hear.
Print that out, put it on the fridge, and that one's going to age like bad cheese, because we know where that's going. Again, the only EV worth buying is Tesla. And Tesla, the devil, or Elon, devil. And he built a supercharger network for nothing. And here's Tim Hodgson touting, the future of the automotive industry is electric, and our government is betting on Canada to seize the opportunity the future brings by investing in 8,000 new EV chargers coast to coast. We told you yesterday that there's a report out there that says you need 477,000 chargers to do Canada.
But you say that Tesla's the devil in the minds of the Liberals. At the minute, Tesla's not even that. Tesla is nothing. Tesla's like the member of the family that, ran off or something like that. It's just like Tesla's just never spoken about, is it? It doesn't exist. If you're stuck on CBC and the Liberal Party, you're completely plugged into that. You believe everything that they say. Tesla's not even on your mind. It doesn't even exist, which is just surreal when you're talking about not just the dominant firm when it comes to the dominant brand in the EVs in Canada, but like so dominant that the other ones might as well not exist. And yet it's not even part of this conversation. It's times that, you know, things like this just make me despair almost that they can live in this strange reality of their own making.
My question is, like, this EV charger plan that they did in the US, they did it in the US. This is an old plan. This is what they did in the US. And it didn't work. Those charging systems don't work. They spent billions of dollars in the US and hardly put up any chargers. And even the auto manufacturers said, Jim Farley went for a tour in an F-150 Lightning. This is actual truth. You can go watch it on the internet. You can find it. He went for a tour across the United States in an F-150 Lightning. So he went to all these even flow and these different charging places. Couldn't find them. They were behind buildings and all that stuff. And half of them didn't work. Half of them didn't work. Major frustration. Even when you get to one, you got to put your credit card, you got to do all these things. It takes 5-6 minutes to even get one to find out it doesn't work. And then guess what Jim Farley did? He phoned up Elon Musk and said, can we be part of these, the Tesla supercharging network, the largest network in the world? And Elon said, sure. And now, you know what every dealer brags about when they're selling you an electric car? Oh, this is now part of the NACS. I went to Toyota. I test drove their car. You can go find it on YouTube. I test drove it for them. And the first thing they said to me was, oh yeah, it's got NACS. You can plug it into a Tesla supercharging system, because they know it's the best. And here's Ottawa going to build their own network when you don't need to. Who's getting the money? That's the question you should ask. Who's getting the money? Who's getting the money?
Somebody is talking about being in Greenwood, saying that there's a lineup of 4 cars. I think that didn't that happen when we went there? They definitely need
there's
more
by
infrastructure around
by
there.
the museum there. There's 2 on that side. They think put those in, and then there's a free, like a level 2 charger, I think, in front of the museum there too.
It's definitely, I mean, it's the right sort of idea, isn't it? The infrastructure needs to be expanded massively, but the idea that it should just be done by state funding rather than going with your begging bowl to Mr. Musk, who's already achieved it.
So with Tesla, you just walk out of the car, you take the thing off the rack, and you stick it in. That's it. You walk away. It's all done. You don't have, like, there's no credit card. There's no, like, it's just, you know, take out 5 adapters and just like, it's clownish. It's absolutely clownish. And here it is, more money wasted. And yet none of the reporters ask, why are we doing this when Tesla can do this and they won't charge us to do it? Just give them access to the market. Anyway, the market outlook. Canada's auto sector contracts amid EV uncertainty. Now here's the truth. So here's the stuff you can't hide. Canada's annual vehicle production dropped from roughly 2.4 million units a decade ago to about 1.3 million today. Do you think that EV mandate that's been hanging over their head for the past, what is it, like since 2019, has had anything to do with their future capital outlays for these auto manufacturers that they can't make money on? Do you think that had any play at all into it? Ford Motor Company lost nearly $27,000 for each EV it sold in 2025. Do you think that was part of the factor when Ford says, we have a choice to build a factory in Canada or choice to build it in the United States? One is going to punish us for building cars. One is going to reward us. I don't know. Like, who's just like, oh, but in Canada, they virtue signal all the time, and Nita Nan travels off to Greenland and stands there and tells you how they're going to open a console. And then Ford says, well, yeah, you know, for sure, we're going to do that one. That one makes sense, doesn't it? Make sense to you? Explain that one to the shareholders.
But it's like, these people are well aware how hard it is to attract international corporations to bring capital and, you know, to open up businesses and employ people in your country. Everyone knows how hard that is. In many ways, that's like the main struggle of G7 countries, really, isn't it? Just trying to go around and try and get these companies. It's almost like trying to sweet talk them into coming and like choose Canada, please. And it's the same in the US, it's the same in Britain, it's the same in Europe. And then in Canada, apparently, it's rather than just try and sweet talk them, although there is a bit of that as well, and sort of subsidies. But alongside that, you have, all right, here's this extremely stupid law that will punish you, that you hate, and we're just going to sit on it. Well, what do you think that's going to do to investment? It's just so obvious, isn't it? I mean, I don't think it's any more complicated than that. It's just terrible.
And Jolie, this is from the Wealth Myth. Chinese EV makers will build cars and EVs and will sell them globally. She said that. We've listened to her say that several times. And Honda and you said it, Honda and Toyota are going to build cars here. We need to sell them to the United States. If they close off the market to us, Honda and Toyota won't build cars here either.
It's totally like, Canada's not seen as a market per se, is it? It's seen as an entry point into the US market. The US is the market. But the way that she's continued to pretend that that isn't true, it's... But this is the thing, you know, if you have a completely incurious media that's willing to let you get away with anything that you want to put out there, it will let you get away with it. Then that's a temptation straight away, isn't it? But then also the sort of carny fanboys and girls, they're not willing to even entertain the idea that maybe he's not got this right. You know, he can't be wrong in their mind. Like I say, he is their Gandalf, and they are looking up like sort of adoring hobbits at their wizard. So this is allowed to happen, and then you just have like the Conservatives are kind of pointing this out now and then, but I haven't heard them really hammer the drum on this particularly. The insanity of this. But yeah, who else is talking about it? You know, it's just kind of lost, isn't it? It's lost among all the rest of the sort of deceptions.
Well, you can help us. You can help us. Demand MPs take interviews with us, especially the Liberals and the NDP. Demand that they take interviews because they are using the CBC and CTV as a shield. They use them as a shield and they won't ask the questions. Imagine the difference between Ian and I asking questions and what's out there right now. Just imagine the difference.
Or even like people like this guy on Twitter, whoever this is. You know, any of these random Twitter accounts, they could do it better. They could do it better than CBC. And that's the sort of state that we're in, you know? What is going on?
Climate change is an agenda that is basically dead. The climate agenda is basically dead in the world, and it was a globalist ideal. And here's the Greenpeace. We showed you yesterday that the founder of the Weather Network saying that it was poppycock. And then here's the Greenpeace co-founder. Listen to what he has to say.
You find in all these things, when you go down to it, they're saying evidence. They say there's evidence that oxygen will be depleted in the oceans by 2030. That's a big one, just came out. It's on all the media. Oxygen will be depleted. And they say there's evidence. Where is the evidence? It's in a computer model that they put the assumptions into. So they build a computer model that gives them the answer they want and then tell you they've got evidence that this is going to happen in the future. That's what the climate models are the same. The IPCC models, there's 102 of them now.
102 different models?
102 $100 million plus models. Every institution that's studying climate has to have its own supercomputer model of the future climate. And so they feed the information into it. We learned when we were punching cards back in university that garbage in, garbage out. Right? We knew that back then. There's a very good graph. You can get it on the internet. Just Google IPCC climate model versus reality or something like that. And you'll see that the climate models are taking it off the top and reality is down here barely changing. The IPCC recognizes that the amount of CO2 emissions from human activity before 1950 was not significant compared to what it has been. Now it's an exponential curve.
It's true, it's happening.
But the temperature of the Earth is not going up on an exponential curve. It's basically been flat for 20 years, except for this last El Nino, which spiked like it did in '98.
Yes.
So they all go, whoo, there it is, we're warming.
Yeah, but that's an El Nino effect,
yes,
which is completely different.
It will come back down to a La Nina.
He's right to talk about that. Who's listening, though? It would be my immediate follow-up question. But I mean, these models, they also, he's talking about them where these models come out and they show something that the activists want them to show and they're happy about it. And they're like, look at this, look at this, look at this model. But sometimes they come out and say things that they don't want to talk about. Like the most famous climate model that I'm aware of, I don't know if there's anybody out there that knows of more famous ones, but it's called MAGIC with 2 C's at the end. That's like the big boy model. Like you often see that reported in the press. The MAGIC model, I don't know why they did this, but for some reason they modeled what would happen if all of the OECD countries, so all the rich countries basically, a model what would happen if they just basically stopped existing. What would happen in the year 2100? So they stopped putting out any CO2 emissions. And the answer was, in the year 2100, it would be 0.5 degrees centigrade cooler than it otherwise would be if they'd continued to pump CO2 emissions. So in other words, proving what I've said hundreds of times and what anybody knows that's got common sense, which is that it's not just Canada or Europe, it's the entire Western world. If they all stopped, it would make no difference whatsoever to climate change. So, yeah, they're interesting, but I don't know what they do when they're presented with that model finding. I guess they just say, "Oh no, that was garbage in, garbage out" on that occasion.
Or those are climate deniers, all kinds of stuff. And you don't have to listen to
Magic is like I say, magic is the climate model. But I don't know what they would say. Just an error was made on that occasion. Forget about it.
And here's Germany's Merz saying, whoops. Let's listen to what he has to say. Whoopsie. Oh, we don't have the clip, actually. But he's basically saying we must deregulate everything, every sector. Germany, as you think Canada's bad, Germany's just like piled regulation upon regulation. Like we showed you once, I believe, that where Elon Musk is building rockets that you can catch when they come back down. Germans are figuring out how to keep the bottle cap from coming off the bottle. They spent all their energy on the bottle cap and how to make sure that the bottle cap doesn't come off so that it causes litter or whatever. They're literally, the first thing when they talk about AI, if you go to one of their AI conferences, the first thing they talk about is how do we regulate it? First, you got to build it to regulate it. But so they don't have anything to regulate. So they want to regulate everything that America builds. They should be called the regulators.
But Mertzi there, he doesn't like it, does he?
No. Well, they've also
problem is you've got Macron saying things like this, and even gone further. Macron's gone all out for Europe as a like an independent superstate kind of thing. It doesn't matter what the leaders say because the system makes the decision at the end of the day, and the leaders in the system aren't powerful enough to change the system. So on it goes.
Yeah, and then Donald Trump signed a new one of his executive orders, firing up all coal mines, just like China. Like energy is everything, and literally they'll get it out of whatever they can get it out of. And that's why Canada is something that America needs. They're going to get energy from Venezuela. Looks like something is really brewing in Iran right now. Looks like it's getting really close because all those warships are being positioned right now. Lots of stuff going on there. That currency has collapsed in Iran. And the same thing going on in Cuba right now. We're going to talk about Cuba in a bit here, actually. But he just signed another declaration there, and that they recognize AI, to win the AI race, you have to win the energy race. You must win the energy race. Must win the energy race. And that's even from Jensen Huang of NVIDIA. What America is missing is the amount of energy that China has at its disposal. It's all about energy.
But like we've said before as well, it's not just like win the AI race and then you have the biggest companies and you can generate the most revenue from businesses paying corporation tax and that. That's not the prize. The prize is world hegemony, basically. And it's power. It's
dominance.
You remain more powerful than the other countries. Yeah, and we've said this before. There's an old saying. You said it, I think, in the English or the Roman or English medieval context. Can't remember what it was. But it's like if you're one of the big boys, you either win or you die. That's it. You're either the master or you're the slave. And that's how the Americans see the world, because they're the big boys. And that's how the Chinese see the world, because they're quite big boys and they want to be the biggest boy. Whereas we, Canada, sit here in the shadow of our neighborly big boy, the United States, and we don't even think like that. We don't think like an apex predator in this country, do we? We think like a gazelle, and we just want to hide next to our little friendly apex predator that lives next door.
I think the reality of the situation is the leadership in this country is compromised, and it thinks for itself, not for the good of the nation. That is more like the reason. It thinks for itself, because the conflicts that Mark Carney has not being asked by the media, and that alone disqualifies this media from being journalists. That alone, not asking those conflict of interest questions. Until those questions are answered, until it's dealt with, this is not a real media in Canada that gets access. They provide them access because they won't ask the questions. That's the sad reality. But here you go.
Indeed.
Like in Canada, energy. This is here's the block. Listen to this is. Meanwhile, the big powers in the world are talking about energy, and here in Canada, we have all this energy trapped beneath our feet. And if you read Mark Carney's book Values, that's where it needs to stay. And if they wanted it out, why would they roll out this EV strategy? Canada's going to build this EV strategy, electrification. If they were serious about oil and gas, like Daniel Smith, like you got to wake up and thinking something's going to happen because, like, look at everything that's happening. And then you just have to question yourself, do you really think they're going to let you build that pipeline to the West Coast? Let's listen into the Bloc Québécois MP Simard here.
I'm just not convinced, all of that to say, I'm not convinced that it's in the public interest to build oil and gas infrastructure. And I'm not even talking about the environmental aspect. So I'd like to hear what you have to say. How is it in the public interest to build that oil and gas infrastructure?
If I may, and with respect, Monsieur Simard, where do you think your province's $17 billion per year of transfer payments come from? It's funded from.
Je vais vous arrêter là.
I'll stop you there. I'll stop you there because you have to look at the overall numbers. I mean, if you want to talk about equalization, well, you know, Quebec's, if you look at it differently, Quebec is sending more to Alberta than the other way. Now, I talked to you about purchasing the pipeline. I've been here since 2019.
That's good. You know, we put a piece up, and you said it on TikTok, a TikTok piece where you said that Quebec would argue that they're the ones sending the transfer payments over, and then you got a lot of heat for that. I don't know if you ever went on TikTok to see it, but a lot of people called you a liar. But there it is, right there.
Well, I didn't just make that up. That's because I read. That's because I read what people say in Quebec, and I go to Quebec all the time. I mean, that's like just on a personal experience level. I know that that's true. But, you know, just listen to what they say. Some people find that so hard to do, don't they? So they'll come out and say, oh, you're completely wrong there, having not listened to what they actually say. This is like well known. Ask anybody in Quebec. So we have some Quebec viewers, don't we, who are often in here talking about Quebec and saying that they live in Montreal and places like that. Ask them. If you're there, tell the world. This is totally run of the mill. This is not like a guy going off reservation. This is the perspective in Quebec. It's like Quebec subsidizes Alberta. I'm not making it up. It's totally true. Well, it's not true that Quebec subsidizes Alberta. It's true that they think that happened.
Well, welcome, Danny. Sausage rolls for everyone. Danny bought a roll around the sausage rolls. There you go. So thank you, Danny, for becoming.
So Danny,
no, it's Danny.
Somebody bought 5, didn't they? Somebody bought a few. Let's have a look. Bin Loveds. It's quite a funny name. He or she bought 5, and then I guess
gift them
our boy
out.
Danny there bought one for himself.
There you go. And it says only his second one he's ever purchased. So thank you for that. You know, we're going to keep pushing on this until we get change. Or until they come and shut us down. We don't know which will happen first. But I know we have the attention of the MPs in Ottawa because they're watching it. I talked to an MP yesterday and says people are watching. And I've got an interview supposedly lined up with Michael Cooper, and we're going to talk about guns. So there you go. We got a couple of news stories for you. We're going to try and get through some stuff here as we're going. Lax screening is the weak link. Rural Canada has become a victim of security gaps exploited by drug traffickers, including lax airport screening. And that's from the Senator Don Anderson from the Territories there. I think this is the weak link in the chain. We have lots of weak links, actually, in Canada. The Vancouver port is also seen as a point of weakness. I interviewed Macklin McCall, a Conservative MLA here, a former RCMP member. The Port of Vancouver seen as a weak link, a point of weakness for that criminal cartels, international criminal cartels, see that as their entry point to the United States. Other drugs are coming on airlines where no flights are being checked by security. And Northwest Territories, when we have security, the security goes no further than Yellowknife. Anyone flying out of Yellowknife further does not undergo any security checks. I can vouch for that as well. I flew out of Flin Flon. As I was flying out of Flin Flon when I was checking out of mine, I said, where do I go through security? And they're just like, you just walk out to the plane. I was like, okay.
Don't forget your grenade.
just go over there. Like, shut up. There's none. But in Thompson, holy cow, those guys are trying to get into Winnipeg because like they basically like took every piece of clothing out of your bag and just like they were. But I mean, Thompson, there are a lot of miners there from Inco and different mines around there, and a lot of bear powder, like bear spray and that, and bear caps and that from the geologists and that when they're out there. So there's a lot of gunpowder residue on a lot of people's clothing. So. Anyway, Hay River in October, 8 days, they had 10 drug overdoses, 87 emergency calls in October. They had multiple overdoses of naloxone, one person receiving up to 10 doses to counter the effects of fentanyl. We got to close the borders for this drugs, man. It's our Vancouver ports, all kinds of stuff. Like we got to stop this drugs for everyone policy too.
Well, the problem with fentanyl is that a lot of it is actually made in-house, isn't it? It's made, as you know,
precursors.
I mean, everyone in British Columbia, I think, was astonished by that story about the one in Falkland, that laboratory which showed up in the American.
But
didn't it show up in the American National Security Strategy document?
And then we didn't share the information.
Making it in Canada.
But the precursors come in the sea cans.
Yeah, but I think those can be obtained. There's nothing special about them. I just think that. Like, I don't think they're just made in China. I think you can actually you can obtain them elsewhere. But that's the problem, isn't it? Whereas the good old days with the Colombian cocaine cartels and all the rest of it, you actually had to grow that in Colombia in South America and then get it up into Canada and Europe and the US and all the rest of it. But with fentanyl, it's not quite like that because it's just like you can make it at home. I mean, that really does. That changes everything, doesn't it? And I think that's why the fentanyl epidemic has been just so bleak.
Liberals and NDP make notable lists. The Department of Canadian Heritage compiled a list of notable Muslim Canadians comprised mainly of Liberal and NDP New Democrat MPs, including Mariam Monsef, a record show, the former Minister of Gender Equality, lost her re-election in 2021 after describing Taliban terrorists as our brothers. The document fact sheet, Muslims in Canada, was released through Access to Information. 7 people are listed as Muslims of note. The list was drawn up by staff in the now disbanded Office of Special Representatives of Combating Islamophobia. We covered that story a while ago. Ex-Liberal MP Monsef headed the list. Monsef lost the re-election by 2,700 votes after commenting, our brothers, the Taliban. It's amazing she got votes. She only lost by 2,700 votes. And she said our brothers, the Taliban, which we literally sent Canadian troops to fight the Taliban in Afghanistan.
And
only
following the collapse of Kabul.
Yeah, only in Canada.
So that's when lots of people were being killed as well then, when she came out and said that. Being killed by the Taliban, I should say.
Other personalities who made the Heritage Department's notable Muslim Canadians list included Liberal MP Ahmed Hassoun, York, current chair of the Commons Foreign Committee, former CBC TV announcer Janela Mass, and Calgary Flames Senator Nazim Kadri, also New Democrat leader Nahid Nishi, the former mayor and now leader of the NDP. Nenshi. The biggest virtue signaler ever. Like he's got to be the, like when he talks, I just, like it's like he's trying to put you to sleep with his eyes.
I was reading this big survey though, and it's shown that he has considerably higher favorability ratings than Danielle Smith. Again, if you believe surveys.
The University of Alberta becoming the first university in Canada to rid itself of DEI. The media's going to go to town on them. Right? U of A. Been on that campus many a time.
Yeah, this is gone. This is all over Twitter and has been for like, I don't know, a week or something. Tristan Hopper often is plugged into this kind of thing, so he's written this article on the National Post, but And actually, what's his name? Jonathan Kay as well. He's been talking about this. He's definitely worth a follow. But yeah, it's remarkable when you actually read the details. Some of the job ads, so you know, you look at them and you think that should absolutely be illegal. Where it's like saying this job is open only to, and it just lists groups that exclude white people, basically.
Not
But
you.
I mean,
should
it
just
is
say,
legal. We should say it's definitely not illegal.
Not you. A non-citizen. Listen to this. A non-citizen male has 13 children. One of them was a result of raping a 13-year-old. He got bail 4 times and impregnated the victim again while on bail. He was granted an adjournment to determine how this would impact his immigration status.
It's cool, isn't it?
Don't want to affect his immigration status, right? Don't want to affect his immigration status. Justy's back. The king of fools. The king of fools. We've retired his jersey. Justin Trudeau. The absolute Hall of Famer, fool that put Canada where it's at. He paved the road for Mark Carney here. And that's smugness. Everybody remembers that smugness. Just take the vaccine. Just take it. Just take it. It'll be fine.
Like when he had the T-shirt that said "Vaccines save lives" in massive letters on his T-shirt.
Well, he bought himself.
Which is true, but I mean, you don't have to go around with that T-shirt on, do you? While getting a COVID vax.
He bought himself a new shack in Montreal for $4.26 million. The 2-story, 5,000 square foot property built in the 30s, valued at just under $6 million for municipal tax purposes. And we got a picture of the shack. Not bad, eh?
You sure you don't mean chateau?
That's not bad, eh? Which one is Katy Perry's room?
She has the east wing.
Look,
there's an actual shack next door that you can see.
Maybe that's the one he bought. Jamal,
so he'd be looking down on the peasants. I mean, yeah, Montreal's a funny city. If anybody's not been, like there are some massively affluent parts, including this one, which are just so like safe and cozy and happy. But then there are some rather dodgy spots as well. It's a shame that he wouldn't move to the dodgier parts of Montreal.
If you don't hate the government funded media, CBC, CTV yet, this one should help you cross the line. Listen to this.
It's about him and his political future. Is this the show where we're supposed to tell the truth about politics? Is this we're supposed to tell the truth? He's too unattractive physically to be successful in politics. He's not going to be the leader of a political party.
Oh, I don't know if I'd agree with that. I don't know if his looks are. I'm not going to weigh in on
Which
that
part?
one,
that he's too unattractive, or that he is unattractive? I mean, you got to break this down, Fred. I know it's day one, but come on.
Look. As soon as the election was over, he immediately put out a.
I can't believe you're going to dismiss this as not mattering. Of course, it matters.
I don't look. I
That's
think
good.
he's well spoken.
That's good enough. You recognize the gentleman in the bottom right corner there in the Hollywood Squares as the guy that's on CTV all the time as an unhinged ranter.
But he wasn't going all in, was he? But he didn't exactly condemn that, which I suspect he would have done if it was about a female liberal, for example. I think he would have got his hackles up, wouldn't he?
And then they say that, well, we had that. Was it Nova Scotia or New Brunswick? I think it was New Brunswick. One of those two provinces, they came out and said they stopped using X because it's a cesspool. Mark Carney's called it a cesspool of hate and all kinds, you know what I mean? Like X is what they're afraid of. And they always say they're going to Blue Sky. David Cochrane from Power and Politics left X as well and went to Blue Sky. Stephen Fuhr left X. He's gone to Blue Sky because Blue Sky is where the good people go, right? Blue Sky. And you said it to me the other day. Blue Sky is the pit of hell, basically, where it's just like the attack dogs live, where they just come out and they're just waiting for a piece of red meat to show up and they just go to town. And if you don't believe me, let's listen to Democrat John Fetterman explain Blue Sky.
You say
Quote, I've drunk deeply of the venom of both the left and the right. As a connoisseur, I can confirm that the most poisonous, the bitterest, is from the far left. That is pretty remarkable to hear you say that as an elected Democrat. Why?
No. It's just been my personal experience on this thing. And when I asked my digital team, I said, we're on all the platforms. Really, what's kind of the harshest? What's kind of the most personal? And the answer was immediate. He said, "Oh, blue sky. It's blue sky." And the difference is, the right would say really rough things and names. Some names I won't repeat on TV, but the on the left, it was like they want me to die, or that we're cheering for your next stroke, or that's terrible that depression won. Why couldn't it depression won? And I hope your kids find you. They even have like the graphic, a GIF where they have like a stroke, in your head, cheering at that. Yeah, and they said that. I remember one. They claimed, "Oh, the doctor let us down," and why did they have to save his life? Just really, like, I just can't imagine. People are wishing, I wish he dies, or I want him to die. Literally cheering for a stroke. And I don't know what the kind of a place where that comes from. That's much different than just calling me a name. That's.
Did you get the idea? But I've heard this from multiple people now. Blue sky, go to blue sky because it's better. If they go to blue sky because they can control there, but it is like literally like just vicious there. And it's like that on Reddit as well.
Those two have in common, Reddit and Blue Sky have in common basically what I can only call an authoritarian moderation regime, a left-wing authoritarian moderation regime, where Reddit, at this point, everybody must have not heard about Reddit by now. That the way that they just delete entire forums that they consider to be politically incorrect. You can't. It's just a complete, echo chamber. And Blue Sky is just like the Twitter version of Reddit, basically. Blue Sky is worse than Twitter used to be when it was run by left-wing activists. Much, much worse. Blue Sky. It's Blue Sky. Didn't they ban like JD Vance? I can't even remember now because I stopped paying much attention to Blue Sky. But I think they banned JD Vance, or at least deleted one of his.
Yes, I think he was banned. Yeah, he was banned. I think I did a really good post on LinkedIn on Blue Sky. It's basically because there's not very many people there. It's like one of those Will Smith movies where the demons have taken over the world. You can't see anybody. Everybody's like hiding because they're all demons in hiding. And then as soon as what's that? The Land Time Forgot or something at the time? I don't know. The Legend or whatever, Legend. And then you can't see anybody, but as soon as there's a piece of meat that shows up out there, all of a sudden they just come out, the zombies all come out and attack you. But other than that, it's like dead. There's not much going on Blue Sky other than like it's a hate machine. That's my thoughts on it anyway.
But it's just, this is what happens. And then what I find so funny is like they despise X because they say it's not moderated enough.
Yeah.
That's basically, and also that Elon runs it and Elon is politically partisan. Those are the two arguments that I hear. But the main one is that they don't moderate it sufficiently. But what's the point? If Elon Musk adopted the same policy as Blue Sky and Reddit, then he would just ban any sort of viewpoint that wasn't right-wing or conservative or Republican Party aligned or whatever. And then what would you do,
Elon
would that be better? Would they think that was better then?
Elon basically saved freedom of speech in the world with X. And the ones that push against it, they're the ones that don't believe in freedom of speech. The ones that push against it, they've identified themselves. They identify themselves when they leave. David Cochrane does not like freedom of speech because he doesn't like people say about him. Listen to what David Cochrane, how he acts and what he does. Do you think David Cochrane's comments are going to be pretty good? That's the pulse of Canada speaking to him. He's taking your tax dollars, and does he care what you have to say? Absolutely not. David Cochrane does not care. All he cares about is that bucket of sausage rolls under his desk and to do his job. Thank you, Rigged Outcome.
Thank you, yeah. And that's an interesting name. for what we're talking about. But I'd also just say about X, sorry, I didn't mean to give the impression that X is some sort of like right-wing place or whatever. It's just that everybody's right-wing. I know that is the criticism from the left, but I just wanted to point out that number one, it's not true, and two, that if you really want to find out what sort of proper hardcore lefties think, the ones who maybe are even a bit too hardcore for Reddit or something like that, you will find them on X. There's a lot of, like, particularly sort of like South African, because Twitter's a weird website, or X is a weird website where you have like different countries have almost like their own little portion of the website, and you never encounter them unless you look for them. But there's quite a lot of sort of South African communists, or Nigerian nationalists as well, like Igbo nationalists and things like that. Like, they're so fascinating to look. But there's a lot of people that absolutely are not sort of like Donald Trump supporters or whatever. Like, there's extraordinary diversity on X, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas Blue Sky and to a lesser extent Reddit are just like total monocultural Democratic Party US.
X is one of the most important platforms in the world. It's where world leaders go to put their stuff. Even Kamala Harris, when she conceded, she put it there first before she even went to the press. It is the platform. It is the number one platform. Somebody asked about the sausage roll. I guess there's new people here. Some people are on the inside joke on sausage rolls, but the golden sausage rolls, that's from Glenn today. Thank you, Glenn, for sending us the sausage rolls. The inside joke on that is, maybe we should do a thing in the membership thing on it, but the inside joke, Mark Carney was in the north part of BC there. I can't remember, was it Kitimat or something like that, doing an announcement. And then they cut away from a news story at CBC. They literally cut away and went to the bakery where he was with all the reporters, and there must have been 10 in the room. And he was picking out sausage rolls for 3 minutes. And it was like they were like he was diffusing a nuclear bomb, and the reporters are doing blow by blow. They're just like, and look, he's looking in the cabinet, and just, yes. And Mark Carney's like, And he's picking out sausage rolls. Not one report. This is just, I think, the day before he went to China. Not one question about conflicts or anything. Not one reporter had a question. And the sausage rolls he was picking out were for the reporters that they could eat on the plane. And none of them even asked questions on the plane there. None of it came up. So that's what it's all about, sausage rolls. The Canadian media has sold its soul for some sausage rolls. You think that Ian and I would sit there and shut up for 3 minutes while the Prime Minister picked out sausage rolls? We wouldn't ask a question. Do you think Donald Trump would have been given the peace to pick out sausage rolls for 3 minutes? And then he did it again when he got back from China. He did it with Doug Ford. He did it with pizza. They did the exact same thing, except that time it was 5 minutes and 25 seconds. I still remember the time. 5 minutes, 25 seconds while he picked out pizza with Doug Ford. Sponsored content for sausage rolls and pizza slices.
I would say we've never been bribed with sausage rolls by the Liberal Party. It hasn't happened yet. So you never know. You never know what would happen in those circumstances.
We have been bribed by Laura Kay and their partner there up in Dawson Creek. They have actually sent us sausage rolls twice. And so the sausage roll is an inside joke for sure. And we do have sausage rolls jokes here all the time. And if people want us to do t-shirts, we're going to try and get that together. Anyway, breaking. CNN has lost 2/3 of its viewership since 2016. Trust in media collapsing to new lows. Really? And at the same time, X, all new highs. Why? Because people want truth. People want truth. Why is this channel taking off? Truth. That's the difference. AI researcher.
They've tried to change a little bit, haven't they? But it isn't enough.
AI researcher says world in peril and quits to study poetry. I said this, that we probably got a couple of years left here. And we're going to try to do it back.
Facebook, isn't he? There's loads of them have quit recently.
Yeah.
Loads. Some from X as well. X, Anthropic, ChatGPT, I think, or OpenAI. There's been loads of people quitting, and they're all going out with these like real doom-laden predictions.
Well, you guys can write into CBC and CTV and then say, why don't you put Jim and Ian on as just give us an hour segment. Even on the the global, it's just about toast now. They might as well try something because they're dead. And somebody said their chat, it's because somebody mentioned a pizza conspiracy. I have no idea what that's going on.
Have you never heard of that? Pizzagate, that was massive during the Hillary Clinton.
There you go. We gotta burn through a couple things here, though. McDonald's sales grew. You said yesterday McDonald's and that we're suffering. McDonald's grew at the fastest pace ever in 2 years over Q4 as they cut their prices there. So greasy fries. They did that value menu, and they brought that value menu to Canada as well. And so McDonald's stock up on that. And Tim Hortons, they use the Canadian Liberal MPs as their HR department to get temporary foreign workers because they won't pay them enough. You subsidize the wages of Tim Hortons. Well, they rake it in. And here's because it's Restaurant Brands International, because it's been sold to that Brazilian company, reported a 6.9% system-wide sales growth for the third quarter, driven by strong results from none other than Tim Hortons. It accounts for 44% of the company's operating profit. Meanwhile, they don't hire Canadians, and they like temporary foreign workers so they can get cheap labor. So just stop going. Because look at this, they have record profits, and they can't afford to pay decent wages so that Canadians want to work there. Imagine that. And we have youth unemployment in double digits because Tim and the A&W don't want to pay decent wages.
Tim's got nothing to do with it, mate. Tim himself.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't understand the popularity, but every time I drive past a Tim Hortons, there's one very close to me, always a line that's, you wouldn't even join it because you would like be on the highway kind of thing. But people they're still wheeling in. And that's just like all over the place. They are so popular. And I'm just constantly seeing people with the coffee cups.
They're not getting my money.
I mean, what can you say?
They're not getting my money. We already covered the Bank of Canada. And then Cuba, I just want to mention, no, we'll just wait with that one. Cuba, feeling a lot of pressure there. The airlines stopped flying there, WestJet and Air Canada, because they can't get fuel. But a lot of pressure I had a friend that actually worked in that mine there, the nickel mine there in Sherritt International. It used to be Sherritt Gordon. You had to change the name because there was sanctions. This goes way, way back. But a lot of economic pressure being put on Cuba right now. And we're going to see what happens out of that. But this one is funny. This guy is very animated. He's one of my favorite guys on CNBC. Let's listen to what he has to say. He likes to jab the naysayers. Let's go. Rick Santelli.
Dow 50K on his hat.
Nobody's going to rain on my parade, and these numbers are what they are, and 50K. I made this hat 2 months ago, and the reason I made it is for exactly a day like today. All these naysayers steeped in politics continue to be negative. That's okay, because 50K says you've all been wrong. You keep from going in the water even though it's very hot outside. I say all the investment gurus out there, jump in the markets in the U.S. because global GDP is going to take a big ramp up, and the U.S. is leading the way.
That's good. That's good.
He is a bull. That is a dictionary video definition of a crazed bull.
He's going to have to hide the hat just for today, I think. It's down a little bit, down off about 500 points, right? 498 points right now. But I think he's going to be able to wear that hat for a while.
Do they have a resident bear on here on CNBC that he can argue with, or is it just bulls all the way?
They do have some people on there. There's a couple. Andrews that does Sorkin does those interviews sometimes. We're the one that famous interview with Elon Musk, where he said, "What do you say to those those people that don't want to advertise on your platform now because of your viewpoints?" What did Elon say? GFY. He repeated it a couple times too, just to make sure you got it. Here's another CNN person on the U.S. economy. Listen to this.
This is a hot jobs report. I mean, there's really nothing in this not to like. You're seeing a lot of sectors that had been softer, like manufacturing, for example, looking better. You're seeing numbers that really nobody expected.
There you go. Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer is kind of a clown for sure. But yeah, we should get some of Jim Cramer's stuff. We need a couple buttons and stuff like that. I like Jim Cramer's buttons. Bull, 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 bear, bear, bear. He's an entertainer. I mean,
we should do a section like that. I think you would be the bull and I would be the bear. I'd just be sat there saying, I mean, don't know about this, folks.
The allure of what we're doing, I think, is that we're trying to bring a little levity to what it is as well, while we still provide you with tons of information. Like everything that we share with you in a day, it'd probably take you 3 months to get this much information out of CBC. They're going to push a narrative on you, and they're going to do like 9 stories to just drive that narrative. I agree with you on that. Do the opposite of what Kramer says. Yeah, I agree with you there. He is definitely.
Well, the other guy says do the opposite of what Jim says.
No, that's Jim Kramer. They're talking about Jim Kramer.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's Jim Kramer. Because I was going to say that too. But here's the big news here. Here it is. This is the guy that you said that the Canadian government doesn't even know exists. Forbes just named him the greatest inventor in the world.
I think they know he exists. They pretend that he doesn't exist. That's the sort of.
Do you want to put that back up there? Desert Fox. There you go. Boom. I mean, it's hard not to like Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, XAI, Boring Company. Like, I mean, label in there like some of the stuff that's even underneath the brand. Underneath this, SpaceX, Starlink, the biggest global communications company in the world. And what SpaceX is going to do? Oh my God, SpaceX is going to blow you away. Going to blow you away.
Well, it's just, I don't get the hatred. I mean, I can understand if you think he's like a political enemy or something like that. If you're like a Democrat activist or something, okay, I understand you would be politically hostile. But if you can just put that to the side and just think, how cool is it that he is in charge of at least, let's say, at least 3 extremely important, very, very cool companies, including one that sends rockets into space. I mean, just chill out for a second and acknowledge that that's pretty awesome.
You look at committee hearings in the United States and you look at the committee hearings here in Canada, completely different. I just want to use this as an example. Pam Bondi. Like they dish out, you get actual information out of the committee hearings. What you get out of Canada is like, no, we can't share that. No, are they performative and they just do things. Listen in on Pam Bondi here. Even when they don't want the information, she dishes it out. Listen in.
If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a question, Ms.
He
You're allowed to.
I did not ask a question.
Crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his state.
She can't just ad-lib stuff. I did not ask a question.
Committee will be in order. The gentleman has yielded back his time. I think our next witness will be more than happy to let the Attorney General
Madam Attorney General, would you like to?
Gentleman from Alabama is recognized for 5 minutes.
You have a few minutes to respond.
Thank you, Congressman. This is what Congressman Liu didn't want to talk about. He didn't want to talk about all the crime that is happening in his state. California refuses to honor detainees because of its dangerous sanctuary city policies. The refusal means California has released 4,561 criminal illegal aliens onto its street. The crimes of these aliens include 31 homicides.
That's good. That's good because she's pretty performative there. 31 homicides, 661 assaults, 574 burglaries. You can see it in the list there. And she goes on and on and on and on. But it's like, you get more out of these saying. One more clip here from Pam Bondi, and this is in for one of the things, and just to show you how they weaponize the justice system in the United States. Listen to this.
We can get through pretty quickly, I think. Can you tell me, is it true that the Biden-Harris DOJ raided President Trump's home?
They did.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ allow Jack Smith to spy on over a dozen Republican members of Congress?
Absolutely.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ seize the phone of a sitting Republican congressman?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ and Jack Smith pay at least $20,000 to confidential human sources to provide information on President Trump?
At least.
At least. Did the Biden-Harris DOJ and FBI fail to apprehend the suspect who placed pipe bombs near the Capitol ahead of January 6th?
That's good. And this goes on and on and on. And the only way we're going to get answers here in Canada or justice for a lot of the things, like we still don't have a response on the Freedom Convoy, the invoking of the Emergencies Act, the Freedom Convoy. Not one of the current cabinet ministers has had yet to answer for that. That has been the court, the lower court decided that it was abuse of power and privilege, and the appeal court upheld that decision. And you and I interviewed John Carpe, and they said that they likely don't even have a case for the Supreme Court. Which media outlet has asked that question? The ones that get access to Mark Carney, because he advised them to freeze bank accounts. Anita Anand, Melanie Jolie, Mark Miller, Dominic LeBlanc. Did I say Anita Anand already? Francois Philippe Champagne, Stephen Guilbeault, all of them were there, made those decisions. Chrystia Freeland, nobody's asked the questions about the number one thing that's in Canada, and that's our Charters of Rights and Freedoms, and how they trampled on those. Nobody's had to answer. Where's the calls for resignations? They're getting investigations at least. We're getting nothing. We still don't have the paperwork on the alleged $250 million that Stephen Guilbeault funneled into his green companies. We'll never get it until we change this government. We won't get it. Carney promised transparency and accountability. We're getting none of it. Listen to the stories that we provide. Not going to provide it, not going to provide it, not going to provide it, not going to provide it. Can't. Chrystia Freeland leaves and goes, and she goes outside of her cooling off period. And now she's going to administer, or what's the money that we don't get any oversight over, the tens of billions of dollars that we've given to Ukraine? It's ridiculous. There's another one there from, and then just in the interest of time, I was going to play the Joe Rogan one, but we got two more other important ones to do here. This is the European weapon stockpile is almost empty. So listen to this. They got no more weapons left. I don't know if we can't find it. They got no weapons left, so just send cash. Okay, we're going to play it.
To have a look in the own stockpiles for what we can do, and if there is nothing left in the stockpiles which can be provided to Ukraine, it's about giving money. So like we did last year, we achieved one.
Enough. Isn't that good information for Russia and China? Well, we got no weapons left. We'll just give them money. And
but
we've already
given money to the US for quite a while, and then the US gives them old weapons. That's been the deal for some time now.
Even Rubio and Vance have said, like, well, I think it was 30%. I think this is our memory. 30% of that money ends up, somewhere else.
Yeah. But what an indictment of Europe, how emasculated and just feeble Europe is, that they can't even like build weapons and, pump out guns, pump out bullets and things like that. It's just like, they are just so pathetic, aren't they? It's like everything that comes out of Europe is just so sad. They really can't get their act together, can they? And this is the Germans as well. Like, obviously their history is an incredibly dark one, very complicated one, but it's an industrial powerhouse, Germany. And they just can't knock out enough weapons. Sad.
We got a last piece here. Manchester United co-owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe there. He's come out and apologized now. But let's listen to this clip here.
Huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause... It'll cause... Well, the UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it? I mean, the population of the UK was 58 million in 2020. Now it's 70 million. That's 12 million people.
You met recently with Nigel Farage, didn't you?
I did.
Do you think that they would be a good government if they were to win the next election?
I think Nigel is an intelligent man, and I think he's got good intentions, but in a way you could say exactly the same about Keir when Keir came in. I think it needs somebody who's prepared to be unpopular for a period of time, too.
That's good.
Most interesting thing about that, I would say, is that that's completely dominated the political and news conversation in Britain now. And Keir Starmer's come out and condemned him. Everybody, the mayor of Manchester, all these political figures have come out, and they're all just sticking a knife in. It's like some kind of ritual slaughter of the scapegoat. because obviously they are
traction,
fighting for their lives because of the Epstein scandal and Peter Mandelson and everything, and just their general failure to govern the country. So now this chap comes along, says something, by the way, that if you go to England and like I'm telling you, like if you just bang into somebody in the street and ask them a question about immigration, they could very easily imagine that they would say something exactly like this. Very, very commonly heard. Like so many people say this. And also, I think colonized, it's the verb, isn't it? The verbs are what? The verbs sink you. Always think about your verbs. But he's used this verb colonize, hasn't he? And you know, that lots of people might look at that and they're thinking of like the Ottoman Empire or something, or the British Empire, indeed, or the Roman Empire or something. They're thinking of that, and then they said, well, it's not been colonized, has it? No. However, there is something going on in Britain that's been acknowledged by everybody in positions of power and authority, including Keir Starmer, who referred to Britain as an island of strangers not so long ago. There is a phenomenon in Britain, and you know, don't take my word for it. You probably, if you've had your eyes open the last 20 years, you probably know what I'm saying anyway. But don't take my word for it. Go to Britain, go and have a nice hollybob in Britain and visit a few places. I'll give you a list, okay? It'll include East Ham in London, Barking in London, Bradford in Yorkshire, Oldham in Lancashire, Greater Manchester, near where Jim Ratcliffe's from. Go to those places. That's just off the top of my head. Maybe Leicester, Luton. Very easy to do. We've got the Desert Fox right in Birmingham. Yeah, parts of Birmingham for sure. Just go to those places. What I've said, you don't need anything else. You don't need any more evidence. That just go there and walk around and tell me if you think Jim Ratcliffe has lost his mind.
Keir Starmer, knock knock, get out. Anyway,
well, it's, you know, this is part of his campaign to cling on, isn't it?
Yeah,
we're gonna get Jim Ratcliffe.
Got to find a scapegoat. Got to find a misdirect. That's our show for today. Thank you for coming up, showing up. We clip the show now into. I don't know, like usually we do like 10 or so clips of this show as well. So a lot of people want it in bite sizes, but the full show is here as well. And like I said, you can go to thereallybigshow.ca. We thank you for all the members. We're going to do that member video today. I think we can do it today, right? So we're only going to be a couple, 3 minutes. And then we're working on getting interviews into the show. We did one with John Carpe. He's scheduled again, I think, for next week as well. We're working on a couple of MPs to get him in here as well. So for shorter interviews, because I do some long ones with MPs as well, and MLAs. But I think it'll be more exciting to do it right in the show, I think. So we're going to try that anyway. Thank you, Sunset Cycles. Thank you for everybody that shows up on a regular basis. Your Valiant Goat, SA Bound, Sun, all these people, especially our members. Digsy, of course, and Danny, the new member today. And then who was the one? Bin something bought 5 memberships and gifted them out. Thank you for that. Great. And my 2 cents, the rigged outcome, all these guys that show up on a regular basis. And you know, part of what makes this show work is you know, like the dialogue in the community is usually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. Like it's fairly intelligent. Global Traveler always adds some good stuff to it as well. And we don't mind being called out. Just, you know, like when some people come in here and try to dominate it and just spit nonsense, then we just have to put them on silent mode because it disrupts it for everybody else. It doesn't make it useful. You can go to Blue Sky and do that. You can go on Blue Sky and you can just be keyboard warrior. You can go like, Anyway, that's it.
Well, you can as long as it's left-wing progressive extremism.
Maybe we should
don't try anything else, otherwise you'll be erased.
We should do one that's more. We should do one show. Yeah, he's on timeout again because he started right away. He came in and right away he started doing pedophile stuff and just like those are nonsensical things. And it's been
that's often his opening line, isn't it? Calling Trump a pedo.
And it's not true. He just keeps doing it. So just like no thanks. Off you go to the corner there.
It's like he's come into the soiree, he's opened the door, takes his hat off, he's like, Trump's a pedophile. It's like, well, what do you think's gonna happen? That's not very well mannered, is it?
None of the nonsense. So that's our show. Again, The Really Big Show. Go check out the website, reallybigshow.ca. We're on Rumble now. Follow us on X. I think now you find all the links on thereallybigShow.ca. That's the easiest way. Go to thereallybigshow.ca. And you'll find all the links. And like, share, and subscribe. Share this on your Facebook. And we're going to do a membership thing today. All right. Thank you for watching Now Media.